When the defensive shield fell to just 12%, Luminary's silver bastion staggered under the Void Dominion's emerald plasma storm. Then, in a flash of pure light, 5 Death Worlder warships from Earth descended like glinting blades. Rail, gun rounds punched through the shield, silver fighters streaked past, and the enemy defense drones were vaporized. Dropships magnetically latched onto the Dominion flagship's hull, and exoshell marines forced Overseer Draw to his knees amid smoke, fire, and splintered wreckage. It was the decisive moment: succumb to death or let hope blaze bright in the void. If you felt this scene's heart-pounding intensity, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe to Cosmic Hypothesis so you won't miss the next epic space battle. The last light of the Luminary. The Luminary system spanned like a glowing ring encircling the heart of the universe, each sapphire white star pouring its light across countless worlds, each city floating serenely in frigid upper atmospheres. On the command deck of the Starlight, warning lights pulsed in frantic rhythm like a straining heartbeat as the planet's defensive shield held at a mere 12%. Captain Wren stood before the vast tactical display, impassive in countenance, yet with eyes flickering betrayals of anxiety. He had witnessed the majestic order of the Luminary fleet shatter, gleaming silver warships torn asunder, drifting like shards beneath the enemy's scorching plasma barrage. Behind Wren, the pale cerulean glow of the system streamed through the viewport, casting Officer Lin in the semblance of a living luminescence. Her silvery eyes reflected the wreckage of the defense vessels slipping inexorably toward ruin. "Captain, the forward pressure beam is rupturing. It will collapse momentarily," she reported, voice soft yet taut with urgency. Every second meant another fragment of the shield vanishing into the void. Wren said nothing. He raised a hand and pointed to the display marking the orbital platforms. "Platforms 3 through 7 have gone dark," he murmured in unspoken admission that the lives of Luminary's capital inhabitants trembled like reeds in a gale. The Luminary had never been a people forged for war. Long ago, their ancestors had cultivated a civilization in temperate climes, untouched by foes, where science and art blossomed like petals of trust. According to legend, they were once keepers of the light itself, yet that once great radiance now fell away in splinters as the Void Dominion, a legion of darkness, surged across their border. The Dominion's vessels, built from light-absorbing alloys, drifted like mobile black holes, preparing to ram crystalline cities into oblivion. Wren felt the cosmic hourglass emptying its sands. He strode to the central communications station, voice cold with resolve. "Tav, open every channelize, even the ancient frequencies the Council long ago shelved." Tav, the communications officer, looked up in startled protest. "Sir, those bands connect us to unauthorized civilizations. Life doesn't wait for permission." Wren cut him off. "We're about to lose everything. Procedure is a luxury." He keyed in a rapid sequence, power levels climbing to their brink, the energy flow indicator flaring crimson. When the distress call launched, it was more than data. It was a desperate cry echoing through the galactic expanse. "This is Captain Wren of the Starlight. Our world is under assault. We request immediate aid from any who can hear us. Coordinates attached." Each syllable bore the weight of extinction. Outside, the deck shuddered with every strike from Dominion cannons. "Transmit and hold the line as long as it survives," Wren instructed Tav, then turned to watch the signal's pale beam stretch across the blackness. Defying every council mandate, the SOS shot beyond all mapped luminary space. It raced through star clusters, pierced uncharted boundaries no stranger had ever breached. The silent void awaited a miracle. But for Wren, this was no mere hope, it was faith made tangible. When the last light flickers, no one stands alone. Extend your hand and someone will grasp it. In the control room's far corner, Lin shivered at the long-range monitor showing a lone red dot marking Earth's position. Their plea was on its way to a world hardened by countless sacrifices against impossible odds. Earth, the name so rarely spoken without reverence in luminary charts. "Let's wait and see," Wren whispered. "We've summoned help. Now we simply await an answer." Distress signal across space. In the communications bay, the cerulean glow from the signal-amplifying crystals flickered like the very last heartbeat of the luminary. Captain Wren stood over the control console, his hand gliding across the oscillating energy readout siege barometer dancing under mounting strain. Ever-present alarms droned in his ears, warning that the main relay was under constant assault from hostile plasma bursts. But what weighed most heavily on his mind wasn't the chaos around him, but Officer Lin's grim warning, "We don't have much time left." Wren drew a steadying breath and recalled the forbidden activation sequence for the deep space transmitter technology the Luminary Council had once locked away like a sacred relic. This transmitter could hurl communications across unexplored regions of space. At Wren's command, a cascade of security shutters slid open, and enormous power modules flared to life at maximum output. Layer upon layer of energy built up, forging a power reserve strong enough to launch their plea for aid across dozens of star systems. Tav, the first human ever daring enough to operate this outlawed device, watched each step with rapt attention. "Transmitter is online," he reported. Peripheral plasma vents fell silent, seeding the field to the main resonance chamber. Dual power conduits pulsed, propelling electrons at supersonic speeds through the signal core. Every overload warning that blinked on the console was a stark reminder. Exceed the limit, and the ship would erupt in a plasma inferno. "Keep it stable," Wren urged, voice taut. He pressed the final confirmation key, bypassing the last security interlock. Never had the Luminary faced such dire stakes. The data packet they were about to send carried more than a distress call. It bore the destiny of a civilization that had flourished in harmony for millennia. Wren scanned the message header one last time. "This is Captain Wren of the Starlight. Planet Luminary is under attack by hostile Void Dominion forces. Request immediate assistance." Alongside the coordinates, standard council encryption tags and a string denoting their strategic posture were appended. At the voice command, "Transmit," fiber optic crystals embedded in the ceiling flared, bathing the bay in radiant light. The signal surged from the vessel, pierced Luminary's light buffer, and hurtled into the emptiness where gravitational waves offered no shelter. It blasted beyond the mapped boundaries of their system, plunging into the interstellar void territory where no civilization had ever responded. Almost 3 weeks later, at the Deep Space Monitoring Station orbiting Jupiter, Lieutenant Dave Miller was finishing his watch. Though automation handled most tasks, he personally conducted manual verifications whenever an alert sounded. As he prepared to close the log, a faint beep broke the silence, a rare ping on a secondary band. Frowning, Miller leaned closer to the console. The incoming data stream bore an unusual encoding, unlike any Earth or Allied protocol. Following procedure, he forwarded the packet to the station's high-level decryption array. Quantum processors whirred into overdrive, untangling cipher keys and constructing a cross-galactic linguistic model. Within moments, the static interference resolved into a coherent character sequence. "This isn't random noise," Miller murmured. He immediately radioed command. "Command, Jupiter Station has detected an artificial signal on an unknown frequency match in our logs." Meanwhile, on the home fleet's command deck, Admiral Tom Hayes reviewed force dispositions. He had overseen Earth's expansion into 9 sectors and first contact with 3 civilizations, but never received a mysterious beacon from Region 47B, uncharted on any map. "Bring it to my briefing room," he ordered. Chief of Staff Patel warned, "It could be a trap." Hayes met her gaze. "Even if it is, we must answer. If someone calls for help and we remain silent, are we still human?" A holographic display materialized, revealing a lone red dot among unlabeled star clusters. Distance, over 120 light-years far beyond any existing support corridor. Yet just last month, Engineer Wells successfully test flew the new long-range fold space jump drive, rendering previous limits challengeable. Hayes pressed a finger to the map, eyes soft on the tiny glyphs. "Prepare Battle Group 5. They will be our wings." Patel's brow furrowed. "All 5 elite vessels, including the experimental full-drive cruisers?" Hayes nodded. "Yes, let them lead. Humanity wasn't born to retreat." On the orbital training ground, Commander Alex Morgan oversaw the final drill. Helmet visors glinted across determined faces of pilots and Marine officers. Though they'd never felt true acceleration's pull, Morgan addressed them. "We're lucky to have been forged by challenge. Now let's prove our world is not just a crucible of suffering, but the cradle of heroes." Thus, from Rin's desperate plea to humanity's unyielding resolve, an extraordinary bond emerged. A note of hope echoed through the void. Somebody is listening. In that moment, though they were strangers across light years, they shared a heartbeat, to fight and to survive. The call of Earth. At the Deep Space Monitoring Station orbiting Jupiter, Lieutenant Dave Miller was concluding his final watch of the day. In the dimly lit control room, rows upon rows of quantum processors quietly hummed as they sifted through the endless cascade of cosmic signals. The soft glow of indicator lights danced across Miller's face as he reviewed the frequency spectrum on his console. Suddenly, an anomalous ping sounded on a secondary bandone almost never used by any Earth or Allied vessel. Miller paused, brow furrowing, as he recognized the unmistakable structure of an artificial transmission, starkly different from the random hiss and static that typically flooded the deep space channels. Adhering strictly to security protocol, Miller immediately duplicated the incoming data packet and labeled it with the code JUP Alert 237. He then forwarded it into the station's highest priority decryption array. Instantly, the quantum engine bristled to life, unleashing a flurry of calculations that worked to peel back successive layers of encrypted keys. Simulating advanced cross-stellar linguistic algorithms, the system began to translate the unknown signal. Each minute felt like an eternity as quantum bits coalesced into meaningful patterns. Finally, after several tense minutes, the system reported success. This was no random noise, but a coherent distress message containing a structured sequence of characters and urgent plea for assistance, complete with precise spatial coordinates. Miller swiftly recorded the exact timestamp and location data before transmitting an urgent situation report up the chain of command. Moments later, Miller's decrypted transmission flickered to life on the enormous star chart display in the Earth Alliance Fleet headquarters. Admiral Tom Hayes, a seasoned commander who had overseen countless expansion operations, leaned forward in his command chair to study the feed. The briefing room fell silent as Miller's voice echoed through the speakers. "Admiral, we have detected an artificial signal well beyond any charted territory," he announced. "The message is a call for immediate aid, and it includes navigational coordinates." As the reconstructed plasma wave oscillations rippled across the holoscreen, the assembled officers watched the visualization of the alien signal with rapt attention. Admiral Hayes rose and strode to the star map, his finger tracing the solitary red dot marking the distress coordinates over 120 light-years from Earth. He exhaled heavily, the weight of diplomatic doctrine and humanitarian responsibility pressing down upon him. Commander Patel, his chief of staff, inclined her head thoughtfully. "Sir," she cautioned, "this could be a trap. We have no reliable data on the sender's strength or intentions. It may be safer to maintain observation from a distance." Yet, despite her warning, Hayes' determination remained unshakable. Turning to the strategic team gathered around the table, Hayes spoke with firm conviction. "We are born of a harsh world," he declared. "Our ancestors turned adversity into advantage, and that spirit defines us. When any being cries out for help, no matter how far across the void, we have a duty to respond." With that, he tapped the star chart, and new flight corridors illuminated the display. The fastest route, calculated using the latest fold space drive algorithms, spanned the interstellar gulf in the shortest time conceivable. Hayes' tone grew more resolute. This mission transcends mere rescue. It will stand as a testament to our humanity." A charged silence filled the room before Commander Patel exchanged glances with the other officers. Drawing a measured breath, she replied, "If we verify this is no ambush, we must act swiftly." The optimal window for assistance is measured in hours, not days. Admiral Hayes nodded decisively, his gaze never wavering from the distant red point. "Prepare Battle Group 5, he ordered. "Deploy our 5 most capable vessels, each equipped with experimental fold space drives. Launches in 4 hours." Orders cascaded automatically into every combat module, marking the official commencement of the interstellar relief operation. As the alarm klaxons echoed throughout the command center, signaling the fleet's mobilization, Hayes placed a steady hand upon the main console. His eyes remained fixed on the solitary beacon displayed in Starlight. Quietly, he murmured, "We are not embarking on a campaign of war. We sail to bring hope. In this vast and indifferent universe, it is those who answer the call of compassion who earn the title of hero." In that profound moment, the machinery of the Alliance sprang into synchronized motion, rallying behind a singular purpose: to cross the light years and answer the desperate call of a civilization they had never met. Preparing Battle Group 5. In the sprawling expanse of the Earth orbital shipyard, the cold arc of plasma-lit girders glinted against the mirror-smooth titanium hulls of 5 elite warships. Relentless, Sentinel, Vanguard, Horizon, and Dauntless each stood poised like living mechanical titans, their silhouettes etched against the vast backdrop of Earth's atmosphere. Commander Alex Morgan strode along the central catwalk, eyes trained on the holographic status displays hovering before each vessel. Every readout demanded scrutiny: cockpit pressure, engine core temperature, and the critical energy reserves allotted for the fold space drive. As he watched the digital barometers flicker between green and yellow, he mentally charted the seconds ticking away to their first jump, aware that the margin between success and catastrophic failure was thinner than a photon's breadth. Below the command platform in the well-lit training deck, Captain Eli Reed marshaled the Arctic Wolveshi's crack contingent of Marine Special Forces. 20 Marines, clad in advanced exoshell combat armor, stood at rigid attention, laser rifles cradled at the ready. Reed circled them with measured steps, voice steady as he demonstrated the emergency protocol for the environmental filters. "Remember," he warned, his tone unwavering, "an oxygen level of just 7% will incapacitate any untrained organism within seconds. Engage your nitrogen-sulfur compensators precisely when I signal." The soldiers responded with uniform nods, their expressions set like steel. Each man and woman prepared to board Dominion vessels under hostile conditions, knowing that the Arctic Wolves' reputation for discipline would be tested at the front lines. Meanwhile, alarms chimed softly in Morgan's earpiece. The internal communications network was waking to life. He halted mid-stride and raised a hand to silence the incoming queries. "Sentinel, report your coordinates and fold space drive status," he commanded crisply. Over the channel, Captain Alden's composed voice replied, "Commander, field stability is at 98% and the plasma core is fully charged." Morgan allowed himself a brief nod of approval. Then, turning back to Reed, he issued the order: "Marine team, proceed to deployment bay within 2 minutes." Reed barked a concise affirmation, and the exoshell-clad Marines melted from the training deck into the loading corridor, their footsteps clicking in rhythm as they moved into their drop pods. All 5 warships were interlinked by electromagnetic conduits, ensuring power and data flowed seamlessly between them. Technicians, suspended in zero-G alongside the conduits, conducted final inspection sexamining weld seams under magnification, testing each air filter and coolant line. Overhead, giant status banners blinked, ready to jump, in alternating green and blue. Morgan stepped into the bridge of the Relentless, resting one hand on the railing, the other brushing against his sidearm. He surveyed the vaulted viewport with a sense of gravity. "Attention all crews," he broadcast through the internal comm channel. "We are not merely warships today. We are the embodiment of hope. Let us carry that hope to Luminary. Outside the cavernous hangar, robotic servicers released safety latches and engaged the primary thruster manifolds. The low hum of magnetic clamps disengaging resonated through the floor plates. Crimson and amber lights pulsed along the ship's undersides as they slowly lifted off the docking pins. Morgan keyed his personal mic and announced, "All ships, prepare for fold space jump in T-minus 30 seconds." Instantly, the atmosphere in the hangar seemed to densify. Charged with static electricity, the viewport glass shivered under the growing electromagnetic field. Down below, Reed signaled the Arctic Wolves into their final launch positions. Rifles snapped to their chests as they braced for the spatial flux. Silence fell in the tense moments before the jump save for the subtle hiss of charged plasma and the measured breaths of 5 crews steeling themselves. Morgan's voice counted down with solemn cadence. 10, 9, 8. Each numeral carried through the comm network like a drumbeat heralding destiny. 7, 6, 5. The hangar lights dimmed as the power grid rerouted energy into the fold space conduits. 4, 3. The very air seemed to warp around the ships, bending the distant Starlight at the edges of the viewport. 2, 1, execute! In a blinding cascade of white brilliance, all 5 vessels vanished simultaneously, their forms dissolving into the threshold between reality and hyperspace. The metamorphic glow stretched and flickered, then, in an instant, snapped away to reveal the cold void beyond Luminary's frontier. Moments later, the Relentless and her sister ships rematerialized as online in perfect formation against the yawning darkness. Morgan exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding, his gaze alight with steely confidence. On his screen, system reports confirmed a flawless jump. Navigation arrays locked, engine core stable, and communications humming at full capacity. Reed allowed himself a rare grin as he raised a fist in salute. "We've arrived at the objective," he announced crisply. Every member of Battle Group 5 understood that the trials they faced ahead would eclipse even the danger of the jump itself. Yet, bolstered by unwavering resolve, they stood ready to cross into hostile territory, prepared to face whatever threats and challenges awaited within the battle-scarred reaches of the Void Dominion. The first act of their interstellar rescue mission was complete, but the war for Luminary's survival was only beginning. The first fold space jump, at the uncharted edge of known space, where the star charts faded into oblivion, the 5 Earth warships hovered like steel monuments against the void. Commander Alex Morgan stood at the heart of Relentless's central command deck, hands gripping the railing as his pulse thundered in his ears. The interior lights shifted to a luminescent teal as the fold space drive systems drew maximum power. With less than a minute remaining before jump initiation, every mechanical sequence and trajectory calculation had to be flawless on misalignment, and they risked being scattered across the universe. Chief Engineer Ryan Wells approached, nodding in confirmation. Drive core stability at 100%. Plasma resonators and induction coils are fully synchronized. Awaiting final authorization from Central Control. Morgan studied the scrolling diagnostics on his heads. Up display, energy flow accurate to the 1,000th decimal place. Field integrity well within safety parameters. He inhaled deeply, exhaled with calm determination. "Very well," he said. "Commence launch sequence Alpha." Below decks, Captain Eli Reed and his Arctic Wolves Marines sat strapped into the protective seats of their exoshell combat suits. The low hum of integrated power units pulsed in time with the suit's heartbeat lights. Reed's voice rang out, steady and precise. "Activate artificial gravity augmentation. Initiate pressure valves to 1.3 G. Engage electromagnetic interference dampers." Reed watched the control panels flicker as pressure regulators adjusted, simulating high-gravity conditions to brace the bodies of the Marines for the spatial stresses ahead. A chorus of affirmative grunts echoed through the cabin-each soldier's eyes, betraying a mixture of steel resolve and a flicker of anticipation. Back on Relentless's bridge, Morgan pressed the Level 3 activation switch. Warning lights danced across the console as the system moved beyond normal thresholds. The universal status indicator transitioned from amber to steady green. All ships, Morgan intoned over the secure channel. Confirm readiness. Stand by for countdown. 3, 2, 1, execute. Instantly, the void outside the viewport seemed to shudder. The distant pinpricks of Starlight twisted and stretched, as though being drawn into elongated filaments before snapping back like coiled springs. The command deck's reinforced bulkheads blurred, their edges dissolving into the deep black. Morgan felt an inward pressure despite the absence of gravitias, though the ship were being compressed from every angle by the very fabric of space. Then a reverse tide, an expansion behind them that rippled like soap bubbles in a breeze, forming a translucent shell around the hull. In that surreal moment, all sound ceased. The hiss of life support systems faded into absolute silence, leaving only the echo of eternity. Then a subtle vibration returned, gentle and deliberate, as if the vessel itself exhaled into a new reality. When Morgan dared to open his eyes, the view ahead revealed an entirely unfamiliar star cluster, a ribbon of icy blue suns and amber giants scattered across a horizon of violet haze. A soft chime sounded on his console, signaling jump completion. Lieutenant Camila Cooper's calm voice cut through the earpiece. Jump complete. Position error margin within 0.02 light-years of predicted coordinates. Relief flooded Morgan's chest. He allowed a wry smile to tug at his lips even as adrenaline kept his muscles taut. "Excellent work," he replied. "Sensors, report in." Instantly, the sensor stations around the bridge sprang to life. Data streams cascaded across holoscreens as long-range radar and electromagnetic scans swept the region. Reed's voice crackled in through the Marine channel, Marines standing by for combat deployment. Weapon systems nominal. Morgan nodded to himself, then keyed his mic. Battle Group 5, set course northward at point 2C. Prepare for initial engagement. Several minutes later, astrophysicist Dr. Ellie Ward entered the command room. Her eyes shone with excitement as she stepped to the nearest console. "I'm picking up high-energy discharges to the north, likely evidence of recent skirmishing." She pointed to a swirling mass of plasma tracers on her display. Morgan turned sharply toward her, vigilant. "Understood. All ships, alter bearing 2 degrees north of grid 05. Increase speed to point 2C. Stand by for potential hostile contact." As orders rippled through the fleet, Morgan's thoughts drifted briefly to Earth, his home world of salt-laden breezes and steel skies, where the docks had been swept by wind and rain, and humanity had first dared to challenge the night. He drew strength from that memory. They had prevailed against insurmountable odds before. They would do so again. "Commander," Reed's voice interrupted, taut with readiness. "The Marines are locked and loaded." Morgan met Reed's gaze, determination blazing in his own eyes. "Very well," he said, voice firm. "Today, we step into a war zone we've never charted. Stay sharp, stay alive, and bring hope where it's needed most." With that, Battle Group 5 surged forward, the 5 warships melding into a single spearhead of human resolve as they plunged into the unknown depths of Dominion space. The first fold space jump had carried them beyond the edge of Mapsand. Now their true trial awaited among the stars of the Luminary system. First engagement. As Battle Group 5 sweeps into the contested Luminary system, a chaotic glow erupts before them. The shattered remnants of the Luminary defense fleet form a tattered silver ring around their besieged homeworld, each battered cruiser shimmering like dying embers against the black void. Commander Alex Morgan's voice crackles over the fleet network. "Reduce speed to 20,000 kilometers per second. Maintain formation at 30,000 clicks. Prepare to transmit our identification and the escort protocol." On Relentless's dorsal antenna array, Lieutenant Aria Fisher's fingers dance across the superconductor controls. In an instant, the first contact package is beamed outward, a compact data packet containing a simplified schematic of Earth, a series of universal pictograms illustrating their peaceful intent, and a clear bilingual message, their stellar coordinates, vessel call signs, and a declaration of humanitarian purpose. Barely half a heartbeat later, the Starlight's reply pulses through the hollow displays on every bridge. Captain Wren's calm yet tense voice translates automatically. "This is Captain Wren of the Luminary Defense Force. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." Morgan raises his mic and responds with measured confidence. "Commander Alex Morgan of the United Earth Navy. We acknowledge your distress beacon and have arrived to assist. Please direct us to your most critical defensive nodes." Almost immediately, Wren's holographic feed overlays an array of waypoints across the star, chart their quantum coordinates to the weakest sections of the Luminary Shield network. Within Relentless's Operations Center, Dr. Ellie Ward analyzes Wren's feed in real time. "They're deploying an uneven multi-node shield grid," she reports. "Nodes 3 and 7 show the lowest energy thresholds. Those are our best targets." Morgan nods and issues the tactical orders without hesitation. Vanguard and Horizon lock weapons on nodes 3 and 7. Sentinel and Dauntless prepare cyber warfare protocols to launch an electromagnetic assault on the shield conditioning modules. Instantly, fighter screens flare to life. Concentrated laser salvos and plasma bursts streak across the void, carving explosive arcs of scintillating light through the star-strewn expanse. Aboard the Starlight, Captain Wren peers through the viewports at the display of coordinated fire. "The humans from the Death World have arrived indeed," he murmurs, awe mingling with relief in his voice. Officer Lynn, her cobalt-tinted hair rustling in the artificial breeze, nods in agreement. "Their hardware is formidable, but what impresses me most is their spirit of altruism." Morgan's voice reverberates through Starlight's comms once more. "Hold your formation. We will shore up your defensive ring. Maintain your positions. We will restore your shield array." Without missing a beat, Starlight's support beams converge with Relentless's main batteries. A stream of focused neutron particles emerges from the Luminary flagship's dorsal arrays, reinforcing the node that Vanguard's railguns are hammering. The staggered pulse strengthens the weakening barrier just long enough for emergency repair teams to begin rebooting key shield generators. Simultaneously, the Relentless launches its first wave of escort fighters. The sleek, arrowhead-shaped interceptors pour into the pocket of space between the Outer Dominion flotilla and Luminary's capital. Lieutenant Jack Wilson leads Alpha Squadron, his voice clipped with precision. "Target enemy sensor relays and main weapon turrets. Disable their targeting matrix." A volley of green-tinted laser bursts and glowing railgun slugs rock the Dominion skirmishers as fractal sparks bloom across their hulls. The web of defense drones scatters under the onslaught, and sensor screens within the enemy vessels sputter and darken one by one. Back on Starlight, Wren issues a decisive order. Create a corridor through the shield's breach. Points give them a safe vector to the final shield node. He adjusts a series of thruster vents to reorient the ship, cutting a tactical opening in the embattled ring. Luminary's bioregeneration modules whir to life, projecting a faint aquamarine glow that begins to seal the ruptures the Dominion had inflicted. As the node begins its slow recovery, Starlight's ion repulsors push additional plasma into the gap, stabilizing the barrier for the arriving Earth vessels. Under Morgan's coordination, the 5 Earth warships and their escorts synchronize their assaults with stunning precision. Every strike is calculated to collapse the Dominion vessel's energy siphons, depriving them of power, while preserving just enough shield integrity for Luminary's repair crews to hold the line. Within mere minutes, Node 5's output plunges to just 20% of its former strength, an ominous sign for the attackers, but a beacon of hope for the defenders. Miles away, on the command deck of the Dominion flagship Overseer Draw, the senior tactician watches in stunned disbelief as the enemy payloads vestiges of red-hot slag across his shields. Hundreds of vulnerability markers flash across his holomap in rapid succession, each indicating a precise strike that pierced the hull's defenses. In a low growl, he orders, "Activate forward armament, push them back." But as the railgun rounds from Relentless punch through his outer plating, the flagship heels dangerously to port. The remaining Dominion cruisers frantically scramble to realign, only to find themselves outmatched by the Earth Luminary Alliance's combined firepower. Across the void, Starlight's comm channel crackles with exhilaration. "Allies from Earth, your intervention is extraordinary." Ren's voice crackles through with genuine gratitude. "Because of you, we can protect our world." Morgan allows himself a rare, broad smile. "We fight as allies," he replies. "Together, nothing is insurmountable." In the annihilating silence that follows each exchange of fire, Relentless's engineers initiate the new shield reconstruction software, patching critical nodes faster than the Dominion can retarget them. The crisp azure gleam of a fully restored barrier sweeps across luminescent shards of energy, casting a renewed sense of resolve throughout the fleet. Amid the infinite darkness, hope flares bright as a nova. The Alliance stands firm. The war for Luminary's survival has truly begun, and for the first time in this conflict, the defenders dare to believe they can win. The decisive clash. Battle Group 5 surged into the heart of the conflict like a tide of steel and fire. 5 Titanic warships bearing down on the Dominion's key positions. The instant the Earth vessels appeared on the holographic displays, the stagnating battlefield leapt to life. Commander Alex Morgan's voice rang out, "All forward batteries, concentrate fire on the Dominion command ship." On Relentless's deck, the colossal railgun roared, hurling a tungsten slug at supersonic velocity. The projectile punched through the flagship's emerald-hued energy shield, carving a blistering hole through the composite hull as searing plasma boiled outward in a crimson flare. Simultaneously, Sentinel and Vanguard synchronized their attacks on the enemy's power conduits, unleashing concussive shockwaves that rattled the Dominion vessel's external plating like thunderclaps against steel. In Relentless's weapons control node, Lieutenant Camila Cooper barked orders to the automated fire systems, "Lock target weapon array 1 fire." 4 ships fell into line, forming a pincer around the flagship. Horizon and Dauntless swept twin beams of coherent plasma along the vessel's flanks, severing critical power leads that fueled its primary weapon arrays. Against the backdrop of a nebulous starfield, the Dominion flagship's obsidian hull glowed like smoking magma, each impact resonating as a testament to the Alliance's overwhelming might. Beyond the gun platforms, Earth's fighter squadrons darted into the fray. Alpha Squadron shot forward like silver arrows through a hail of cooling beams. Lieutenant Jack Wilson's voice crackled in the comms. "Deploy Psi, strike pattern release EMP cluster munitions on their guidance systems." A cascade of electromagnetic payloads detonated around the Dominion ship, sending its drone escorts into ruinous stasis as their circuitry fried in mid-flight. In the ensuing chaos, F-22X interceptors surged in, unleashing high-velocity kinetic rounds that blew away the smaller enemy corvettes in miniature starbursts. The Dominion formation trembled, its cohesion unraveling under the relentless onslaught. Aboard the Starlight, Captain Wren witnessed the breathtaking coordination of Earth's forces. "Their maneuvers exceed anything we've ever seen," he murmured to Officer Lin, who stood by his side, her silver eyes reflecting the strobe of distant explosions. "Maintain your suppressive fire on their aft turrets," Wren suggested, relaying a secondary waveform of support beams to Relentless. Immediately, Starlight's quantum neutron emitters converged with Relentless's barrage, bolstering the destructive output of Morgan's flagship. But the Dominion would not yield easily. Overseer Draw's gravely voice thundered through his bridge. "Reconfigure the defensive matrix counterattack port side." 4 escort cruisers swung into a defensive formation and unleashed a barrage of radiation-charged pulses. The ionized waves washed over the battlefield, blinding sensor arrays on several Earth ships and forcing them to divert power to regenerating shields. Relentless shuddered as its integrity dropped to 62%. Cooper's voice remained steady. Activate field overload, redirect 20% of reactor output to the shields. In the engineering deck, Chief Engineer Ryan Wells worked the plasma regulators furiously. The conduits glowed ruby red as power rerouted to the defensive systems. Field overload engaged shields restored to 89%, he announced. Morgan allowed himself a sardonic grin. "You won't break us that easily," he quipped over the comms. Seizing the moment, Horizon fired its gravity cannon rounds. Projectiles accelerated within a localized gravity well, piercing the side plating of a second Dominion cruiser. The vessel lurched and spun like a top, metal shearing away in cascading fragments until it disintegrated into drifting wreckage. Dominion forces, now reeling from back-to-back losses, struggled to regroup. Their communications grid was in tatters, only a hollow wail of emergency beacons drifting through the void. Meanwhile, on Relentless's hangar deck, Captain Eli Reed's Marine contingent prepared for the next phase, boarding assault. 2 armored shuttles detached from the ship's ventral docking clamps and shot toward the flagship's hull. Magnetic grapple modules clamped onto the Dominion vessel's plating, piercing its outer defenses and creating entry points for the assault teams. Reed led his exoshell-clad soldiers into the breach, vaulting through the docking corridors into the Dominion ship's engineering section. They were met by an intolerable onslaught of counter-pressure and internal atmosphere pressurized to 500 kilopascals. The exoshell suits locked down, stabilizing their occupants at 1.3 G as Reed's laser-edged plasma blade cut through bulkhead seals. Sparks danced across the corridor as the team raced toward the reactor control chamber. Override airlock switch to emergency reserves. Reed barked as console alarms blared in red. The suit compressors hissed defiance as life support switched to backup tanks, giving the assault team precious seconds to secure their objective. Back outside, Relentless and Sentinel deployed rescue drones to retrieve crippled Luminary defenders from the debris field. Captain Wren monitored the feed, voice tight with emotion. They have 15 seconds before the reactor reaches critical detonation, overriding reactor shutdown sequence now. Morgan responded immediately. Red Squadron, intercept incoming ordnance. Earth fighters dove on the inbound Torpidus Emerald green energetics, streaking through space, obliterating them in mid-course with synchronized plasma volleys. Within the Dominion flagship's core, Reed's team slammed the plasma blade into the main control console. Overseer Draw, disoriented and surrounded by cascading sparks, found himself unarmed and helpless. Reed approached, rifle leveled at the fallen commander. This ends now, Draw. Stand down or face total annihilation. Under the weight of advanced Earth weaponry, Draw's shoulders slumped, and he nodded in reluctant capitulation. Across the Dominion battle line, the truce declaration reverberated in dull tones as every combat system abruptly fell silent. Shields collapsed, weapons silenced, and the battered defense ring around Luminary flickered back to life. The hush that followed was profound, a moment of stunned relief. On Relentless's bridge, Morgan keyed his comlink to Starlight. We fought side by side and prevailed. Wren's face appeared on the hollow screen above the console, a weary smile spreading across his features. I never imagined humanity could become legends among the stars, he said quietly. Morgan returned the gesture, voice warm with pride. Legends are forged in trials like this. Today, we stand united. In the star-speckled darkness, the battered fleet of Earth and Luminary craft gathered around their reclaimed stronghold, the echo of their victory shining brighter than any distant sun. The fateful boarding. As Battle Group 5 completed its encirclement of the Dominion fleet's flagship, 2 reinforced dropships, Orion and Tempest, detached from Relentless's ventral launch base. Their magnetic docking clamps retracted with a hiss, and the slender vessels glided forward into the yawning maw of enemy steel. Inside Orion's cramped cabin, Captain Eli Reed performed one final systems check. Every exoshell suit's locking clamps were engaged, and the life support regulators were primed for depressurization. "Activate the vacuum seal modules," he ordered, voice-clipped and firm. In moments, the superconducting magnetic grapplers engaged, welding both dropships to the curved hull of the Dominion flagship. Together, they formed the only access bridge through the enemy's outer armor. Within seconds of contact, Orion's outer hatch blasted open, expelling a cascade of superheated air, shredded metal shavings, and drifting plasma sparks into the void. Reed led his fire team through the breach, each Marine advancing single file down the narrow access corridor. The local pressure spiked violently, but their exoshell suits automatically compensated, intensifying structural rigidity to withstand the onslaught. They formed a wedge-shaped assault column, heavy-barrel AP-45 rifles cradled at the ready, targeting the nearest access portal to the flagship's primary control deck. Outside, Relentless and Sentinel provided protective fire, their railguns and plasma turrets blasting back every wave of defensive drones. Emerald torrents of Dominion energy beams were shredded into harmless arcs by the Alliance's superior firepower, maintaining a clear path for the boarding party. In Orion's cabin, Reed initiated the atmospheric sensor sweep to verify the internal gas composition. "Marine Team Bravo," he called through his comlink, "engage filter bank Alpha 7. We have exactly 3 minutes before the internal atmosphere becomes lethal." Marine specialists keyed emergency adapters into the breached conduit, the hiss of pressurized air giving way to a stable, filtered supply. Crimson status lights blinked to confirm a viable breathing environment, and Reed pressed onward, guiding his team up a spiral staircase that led directly to the command levels. A piercing klaxon echoed through the piping network, adding to the claustrophobic tension. Reaching Deck 7, the flagship's central operations sphere, Reed raised a gloved hand for silence. He tapped the access panel with his plasma breaching blade, the hot cut delivering glowing rivulets of molten steel as the port slowly peeled open. Inside lay a ruin of blackened wiring, cracked plasma conduits, and the huddled forms of Overseer Draw and his senior officers kneeling amid the choking haze. Reed strode into the chamber, AP-45 leveled at Draw's chest. "Overseer Draw," he intoned. "I am Captain Eli Reed of the Relentless Marine Detachment. You are ordered to stand down and surrender." Draw looked up in stunned disbelief, eyes wide with panic. Why did you have the power to reach me here?" he stammered. Reed's lips curved into a cold, measured smile. "We call it the resilience of Deathworlders." Simultaneously, Sentinel's rescue drones deployed an electromagnetic boarding ladder against the hull. Injured Luminary defenders were shuttled aboard Vanguard's medical bay via remote stretcher pods. Through the comm network, Captain Wren's voice rang with relief. "Thank you, Earth allies. You have saved us from the brink." Morgan's reply echoed in every channel. "We came for that purpose. We stand by you." With Draw's compliance secured, Reed issued the deactivation codes over the flagship's nuclear control link. One by one, the sabotage protocols locked down reactor functions and neutralized every self-destruct mechanism. All alarms fell silent, and the oppressive stillness of true victory descended upon the vessel. Reed lowered his weapon and turned to gaze through the observation viewport. Beyond lay the 5 warships, Relentless, Sentinel, Vanguard, Horizon, and Dauntless lined, like monumental pillars of hope against the star-spangled void. The boarding had concluded decisively. Luminary's fate had teetered on a knife edge until this very moment. As Reed's Marines escorted Draw and his officers back to Orion for transport to Relentless, Morgan initiated the withdrawal order. The orbital drone's final salvos, intended to repel the assault, died away under the combined defense of Earth fighters and Luminary cruisers. It marked a turning point victory on the threshold of Luminary. On board Starlight, Captain Wren gazed across the gloom toward the retreating Earth fleet's formation lights. In their wake, tracer arcs of fading thruster flares spelled out a single unspoken message. You are not alone. Above the battered world below, A final meteor burst into view, a streak of radiant hope that heralded the dawn of an enduring alliance between Luminary and humankind. Post-war reconciliation, the Alliance. In the opulent crystal hall at Luminary's capital, colossal prismatic crystals cast shimmering arcs of silver light across the soaring chamber. Hundreds of Luminary dignitaries gathered, draped in cascading robes of gleaming metallic silk. Atop the central dais stood the 7 High Counselor seats, representing one of Luminary's ancient blood lines poised in solemn grandeur. The air pulsed with joy and emotion. Today marked not only the triumph over the Void Dominion, but also the formal recognition of a new ally humanity. High Counselor Vin, the Council's sovereign voice, raised her hand to command silence. Her melodious tones echoed through the crystal acoustic system. 3 cycles ago, our world teetered on the brink of annihilation. A malevolent force shattered our protective shield and threatened to erase the peaceful civilization we had nurtured for countless ages. In our darkest hour, we cast our plea into the void, defying every diplomatic protocol and wagering our fate on a sliver of hope. Tiny facets of the hall's crystals twinkled in perfect harmony with her words, and the audience fell into reverent stillness as she continued, her voice warm and resonant. From that faint beacon of desperation, your resilient Deathworlders answered our call. You traversed hundreds of light years, braved your own fears, and brought not only formidable arms but hearts of compassion. Today, before all Luminary and in the presence of our honored guests, we inaugurate the Alliance of Lyta Bond, uniting our 2 civilizations. A wave of thunderous applause rippled through the hall like a cascade of starfire. High atop the dais, Admiral Tom Hayes and Commander Alex Morgan ascended to the ceremonial platform, flanked by Captain Eli Reed and Captain Wren. Hayes bowed deeply, then spoke with measured dignity. We are honored to stand among you on this momentous day. Earth is proud to call Luminary our ally. In the vastness of the cosmos, none of us are alone. The people of Earth pledge our expertise in technology, medicine, and education to help forge a lasting era of peace. High Counselor Vin then invited Captain Wren forward to present Luminary's gift of gratitude, the Resonance Key, a spherical crystal orb, its lattice of silver filaments interwoven with subspace-conducting nanowire pulses in soft cerulean waves. The orb sat within a delicate gold frame, etched with parallel constellations that have witnessed Luminary's storied past. With solemn care, Wren accepted the gift, his optic sensors dampening with emotion. This resonance key embodies the faith our ancestors held that one day, distant worlds would come to kindle hope in the darkness, he declared. We bestow it upon Earth as a pledge of perpetual friendship. As the orb emitted a sonorous hum, its resonance rippling through crystalline channels, Commander Morgan placed a reverent hand upon its surface. His eyes glowed with the promise of a shared future. We gratefully accept this priceless treasure and vow to safeguard our alliance for all time, he affirmed. Behind them, the officers of Relentless, Sentinel, Vanguard, Horizon, and Dauntless raised their gauntleted fists in synchronized salute, a testament to the unwavering solidarity of Earth's forces. Stepping forward next, Captain Eli Reed accepted the Shield of Unity medal on behalf of the Marine contingent. The insignia, a polished silver shield engraved with the letters R.A., Robillard Alliance, reflected the ambient crystal light. Bowing his head, Reed spoke with quiet pride. We stand with Luminary in every trial to come, defending the light and preserving peace wherever the vacuum of space may challenge us. In a secluded alcove of the hall, Overseer Drons, the Dominion's fiercest adversary, stood behind the Luminaries, his posture subdued. Gone was the arrogance that had defined him in battle. In its place flickered awe and humility. As the formalities wound down, High Counselor Vin extended an invitation to address the assembly. With a voice seasoned by regret and newfound clarity, he spoke, I was wrong to believe that only the strongest deserve to endure. Today, I understand that true strength arises from empathy and the willingness to share it. I accept this alliance with profound gratitude." The hall erupted in cheers once more. Commander Morgan stepped forward to clasp Draw's shoulder, whispering words of reconciliation. "Our past conflicts are behind us. Together, we build a future of unity." As the ceremony concluded, the interlaced beams of crystalline light and the warm glow of ascending spirits imprinted themselves on the memories of all present. A spectral arc of refracted luminescence guided the dignitaries from the hall into the open-era radiant path to inaugurate a new chapter for the Alpha system under the banner of the Alliance of Light. Epilogue: A Vision for the Future. In the wake of the grand signing ceremony, Commander Alex Morgan stepped out onto the western balcony of the Luminary Council Palace. 3 argent moons, Silverlight, Moonshade, and Starfall rose in stately procession behind the crystalline peaks that frame the city below. A gentle breeze stirred his short uniform cloak, carrying with it the soft murmur of distant celebrations. Beneath the pale lunar glow, the streets of Crystal Haven shimmered like veins of living silver, the great towers alive with dancing refracted light. Beside him, Captain Eli Reed lifted a crystalline goblet of starwater to his lips. The electric blue elixir sparkled like liquid starlight, casting flickering patterns across his eager face. Reed exhaled, savoring the drink's sweet tang. "These past 2 days, it's almost impossible to believe," he murmured, eyes tracing the orbital phalanx of Sentinel's hull glimmering against the night sky. "We have emerged victorious and ushered in a new era." Morgan nodded, gaze still fixed on the warship in geostationary orbit. "Thanks to Luminary's courage in sending that call for help and our own resolve to answer it, we have forged the strongest alliance in recorded history. But I wonder what awaits us beyond this region." Reed followed Morgan's gaze toward the 3 moons, their silvery reflections dancing across the palace's polished balustrade. His voice dropped to a thoughtful whisper. "Word that Earth can project fold space jumps across 120 light-years will send shockwaves through every polity in the galaxy. Even those factions that have stayed neutral until now will take notice." Behind them, Dr. Ellie Ward and Captain Wren stood by the resonance key display. Beams of subspace energy pulsed through the orb's internal lattice and the surrounding walls made of living crystal. "Doctor?" Ward traced a fingertip along the device's metallic nanowire filaments. "I've analyzed the crystal composition. It's unlike anything on Earth or Luminary. This key can amplify subspace harmonics." Wren smiled softly. "Yes, in Luminary, we call it the catalyst of resonance. But the challenge is determining how Earth will harness its frequencies." At that moment, Overseer Draw emerged from an archway to Morgan's left. His once haughty bearing had softened. Lines of humility and wonder marked his face. "I have been defeated," he confessed, voice rich with warmth. Yet today's victory was wrought not merely by superior firepower, but by the singular spirit of cooperation you humans embody. "I believe our future together will know true peace." Reed raised an eyebrow in surprise but quickly recovered. "We are honored to stand as your allies, Overseer. Let the grievances of our past rest." Below the balcony, the palace gardens had been transformed into an open-air festival. Luminary musicians played crystalline lyres and theorem-like wind harps, the haunting melodies weaving through the air like silver ribbons. Morgan and Reed watched as the Marines of Relentless retired their weapons at last, blending incongruously into the festive crowd. Small clusters of Luminary approached them, their curiosities unashamed. Questions flew about the rains and storms of Earth, the vast oceans, and the volcanoes that both inspired terror and nurtured life. Morgan turned to Reed, voice low. "Do you ever wonder if Earth never answered that original distress call? Whether future generations would even remember the Navy that came to Luminary's aid?" Reed sipped his starwater again, meeting Morgan's steady gaze. "They will tell it as myth and epic carved into history, but in every myth, the core truth is the heart that beats beneath the legend. We must honor that." Meanwhile, in the crystalline hall of clarity, an orbiting pavilion of glass and living crystal tethered to Luminary's magnetosphere, Admiral Tom Hayes and Ambassador Juna of Luminary concluded their diplomatic talks. Hayes leaned over a hollow table, gesturing at interlaced projections of plasma reactors and crystalline lattices. We propose the formation of a joint science commission to study these newly discovered crystals alongside our plasma shielding technologies. Together, we can safeguard both our worlds. Ambassador Juna nodded, her eyes bright with anticipation. Agreed. We also wish to integrate Earth's modular shield generators into our planetary defense grid. Such collaboration will bolster security on both sides. As the evening's festivities wound to a close and the delegates began to depart, Morgan and Reed returned to their starship staging area. Reed paused beneath a towering spire of luminescent crystal, its facets refracting the moonglow into a prism of pastel hues. "We answered a call for hope," he said softly. "Our next mission must be to keep that hope alive." Morgan placed a reassuring hand on Reed's shoulder. "Let the galaxy witness that when humanity declares we will come, those words are never empty." Far above, the three moons' brilliance gradually dimmed, yielding to the dawn of a new future. In the hearts of all who had gathered, the flame of their alliance burned, brightened alliance of light that would shine steadfast through the vast, uncharted darkness of space. A solemn covenant between Luminary and humankind to face together whatever lay beyond the next horizon.